In a big blow to the UPA government, prominent social activist Aruna Roy has decided to opt out of the Sonia Gandhi-led National Advisory Council, accusing the government of focusing on economic reforms and growth at the cost of the poor. She is particularly upset that the Prime Minister's office rejected the NSE's recommendation to raise wages under the Manrega program. I spoke to Aruna Roy a little bit earlier. Aruna Roy, thank you for joining us this evening. You surprised many people with your decision to quit the NAC, and in your letter to Sonia Gandhi, you mentioned a conflict with the government over minimum wages to Manrega workers. Now, was that the immediate reason for your decision to quit, or was this something that was building up over a long period of time?
Actually, I haven't quit the NAC. I requested the chairperson about 3 months ago and told her that I would not like a renewal of my membership for the last year, for the simple reason that many of the things that she had recommended actually that minimum wages be paid. Many of the issues that have been sent by the NAC to government are still dragging their feet. Laws have not been passed. So I felt that for me now the real role is implementation. So I am going to switch from an role of an advisor to a role of a person who is now an activist full time and looks at issues that concern the poor. My constituency is the poor. The people who sent me to the NAC are my organization and my campaigns, and they all felt that I should now come back fully to be involved with and take the matter further in the public domain. So I think it's not a matter of anger or angst or irritation. It's just a change of role. You mustn't forget that I went from activism to the NAC.
But you also have talked about Sonia Gandhi's diminishing abilities to push through social agenda in the face of what you call the government's techno-economic arguments. Can you elaborate on that? Are you saying that the government was obstructing social welfare schemes?
I didn't quite say that in the letter. I must have said about techno-economic arguments, not to Mrs. Gandhi, but I said it about government. And you see, there has been a definite partiality and bias towards techno-economic arguments, which has been visible for all of us to see, and solutions are now sought not in proper programs or in improving governance or in looking at delivery systems or looking at people's control over information or demanding accountability, people monitoring. We have vested too much faith in instruments and in mechanized solutions. So for us, there has been a shift from looking at the strengthening and empowering the poor to control their lives to giving up controls, because now it's becoming, do I control my life, or do I hand over my control to a machine or to another group of people who will then tell me what to do? So from empowerment, it leads to disempowerment. So for us, the argument is much more than whether it is this program or that program. It's a bias which will lead the country into a completely different paradigm.
And can you give us examples of that bias, a couple of instances that really stood out for you?
I think I'd like to really talk about minimum wages for the moment, because in that letter I mentioned minimum wages not as a complaint about the NAC, but the fact that the MGNREGA, which is one of the most successful programs for the poor and for the worker that has ever reached rural India, and people who criticize it probably do not go and visit those programs. They also don't understand that previously when money came to a village panchayat, we didn't know it had come and we didn't know it had gone. For the first time since MGNREGA began, we know money has come, we know how much money has gone into people's pockets and how much money has come to us, and we have created assets. But profoundly different kinds of arguments are being projected by people, and it's being bought by people in urban centers, by financial experts, by planning commission, by so many others. So what we really want to do is to reset the balance, and one of the fundamental things in the MGNREGA is the minimum wages. So while the Ministry of Rural Development has worked very hard on many of the other issues,